Oh, g'day everybody, how are you going today? It is so good to see you. This is just a very quick news flash talking about some extremely important and exciting news for anyone interested in the Nikon Z mount. And that is further rumours that we're going to see real soon the Nikon Z6s and Z7s. Alright everybody, let's just whiz through what the exciting parts of this announcement is. Now, of course, this is a rumour, so we don't know whether it's true or not. But this is from our great friends at Nikon Rumors, and their track record is very, very good. Let's talk a little bit later about when. When can we expect to hear or see these cameras? First, let's talk about some tentpole, exciting advancements, announcements for these cameras. And that is, firstly, 2 card slots. Whoa, 2 card slots. Hasn't that been something the world has loved to talk about? Well, we won't have to talk about it anymore. Although the Sony A7C just put 1 SD slot in, and it's an expensive camera anyway. Anyway, we were not talking about Sony. We won't have to talk about card slots in regards to these new Nikon cameras. Yes, now what's that going to look like? Is it going to be 2 XQD/CF Express card slots? I think it probably won't be. My money is, if I was a betting man, my money is on it's probably most likely to be the D850 style combo, which is an XQD/CF Express Type B with an SD slot. In a perfect world, what I would like to see them do is use the same slot that Sony used in the A7S III, which is a slot that can handle CF Express Type A as well as SD. And they put 2 of those in there. Isn't that great? So we could have, if Nikon go down this path, and they've had plenty of time to work out whether it's possible, so we could have 1 slot that is XQD CF Express Type B, and another slot which is CF Express Type A and SD, thus giving you basically 4 versions of cards that have been out over the years that you can use, covering many permutations. Not quite everything, but almost everything that we've seen. That's the slots. Very hopeful and excited that we get that version, which has the Type A, Type B, CF Express, as well as SD, as well as XQD. We will see. The second really exciting part that so many people will be over the moon to hear is vertical grip capabilities. Yes, so you will have a grip, and it will have buttons, and you will be able to take photos this way instead of this way. Be great to have something else that we don't have to talk about anymore, because it just is. So let's hope vertical grips is a thing. Next, let's talk about the sensor. Now, we've been told the sensor size won't change, but that doesn't mean many other aspects of the sensors could change. Now, Nikon's people have had 2 years basically to tweak these sensors that we have today. Now, the Z6 has the 24 megapixel sensor, which is a very common size. We see the 24 full frame 35mm sensor being used by a lot of manufacturers in a lot of cameras. Did we mention the A7C? Whether it's exactly the same size, I'm not sure. My point of this is, though, it's a very common sensor. It's used by a lot of people, which means a lot of research and development money can go into a sensor like this because the returns are high. What we do know is that Nikon designed their sensors and Sony most probably manufactures them. Not all of them, and not in every case. This is not a blanket statement, but this is our belief with the current crop of sensors. We would expect from a 2-year newer sensor, perhaps improved ISO by 1 stop, maybe marginally improved dynamic range. And of course there might be things like, in regards to the on-sensor focusing, they've managed to improve any banding that happens when you drag the shadows beyond 4, 5, 6 EVF. Doesn't happen all the time, happens sometimes. There might be subtle improvements in those areas as well. That's the 24 megapixel sensor. In regards to the 45.7 megapixel sensor, which is very similar to the D850 sensor, but not the same because it's got a focusing system on it, again, I would expect some mild tweaks to that, whether it's in relation to the sometimes appearing banding, whether it's in relation to focus and focus speed, how they might be able to address that, ISO, dynamic range, etc. I think it will be tweaked. There's been 2 years. I'm sure there's a team in Nikon that works on that stuff. Another great improvement, which many will be excited about, is the ELEN15C battery, which of course you can put in any camera, a D800, a D810, a D850, a D500, a Z6, a Z5, a Z7, and all of these different cameras can take this battery and more. And I believe it gives something like a 15 to 20% boost. Its capacity is actually larger. So any of those cameras will benefit from that larger battery. And if you love Nikon, we should all go out and buy one tomorrow. It would affect their bottom line by millions and millions of dollars if we all just simply bought a battery. Wouldn't that be great? Think about it. These cameras will come with that battery, and that battery brings a couple of things. One thing that it brings besides extra capacity is you can charge in camera whilst the camera is on, while it's functioning. This is new. The first time we've seen that is in the Z5, and for these professional level cameras that they will be, this is going to be much loved, and we're all very excited about it. To be able to, sort of shoot indefinitely, which segues me over to the video. So what we're hearing about the video is it's probably going to be 4K 60 FPS, and hopefully because the laws have changed, this will be 4K 60 FPS for a non-limited amount of time, as we've seen, for example, in the A7S III. It won't be limited just by a law anymore, but maybe by the size of the card, the power, or overheating, if that is or is not an issue, which let's hope it's not. That's what I'm hoping Nikon do. They give us a camera that just works within its parameters with whatever you want to do. So with video, it's a little bit unknown as to what else we might see. We might see 422 internal, we might see RAW internal, we might see 240 frames per second and 1080. I don't think we're going to see 120 FPS in 4K. And the reason I say this is the Z6s price point, I don't believe will be anywhere near the A7S III price point. I think Nikon will bring out that camera next year. So it's going to be significantly cheaper, but give you almost everything the A7S III has. But it won't have all of it. That's my guess in regards to video. So we're going to have improved video specs. That's great. To drive all of this stuff, there's going to be 2 processors. Now, we don't quite know if it's exactly the same processor, whether it's a tweaked processor, but either way, 2 of them is going to allow for roughly, maybe a little more, a little less than two times the capacity within the camera. Now, this can depend on the actual lines of code and optimization of code. Nikon have had 2 years to optimize the baseline of this code and also tweak it to run on multi-processors, dual processors. So with the 2 chips and with optimization in code, I would expect that we will see somewhere in the vicinity of twice the performance, give or take, depending on what operation is being performed. One of the places that this will probably be most beneficial is with tracking, motion tracking, eye detect, and those sorts of elements. So this is where we have an expectation and there is a market desire for those particular elements of focus to improve. We believe that's what's going to happen, so that's very exciting. There's going to be improved EVFs. We're going from something like 3.5 million to 5.75 million in the EVF, I believe. Now, we would also hope that that EVF is driven at a higher frame rate. Again, 2 processors will help us do that, so that's very exciting. Okay, so when are we expecting? Well, we're definitely expecting to hear about the formal announcement that they actually exist in October. So very soon now. And the actual launch date, well, I would expect to see them before the end of the year. That's my estimation, coming alongside of perhaps the 51.2 and the 14 to 24, which are also both expected before the end of the year. So that's when we're going to see it. Look, I'm really excited about these cameras. I think it's basically, I believe Nikon is going to throw the whole kitchen sink at addressing pretty much all of the complaints that anybody had about the Z6 and the Z7. We're going to have fully functional vertical grips. We are going to have 2 card slots, and we are going to have an improvement in tracking and motion tracking, eye detect, and all that sort of stuff. I don't say specifically focus, because I think focus, when you're using spot focus or whatever, is just as good as it always has been, except in super low light. But other than that, the focus speed, the speed of the lenses, how quickly you can jump between objects when you're shooting in just normal conditions is totally fine. I think the focus improvements are more specifically to object tracking, eye detect, etc. Which still works. Like, I'm using it right now in video mode, and it works really well. Anyway, it's going to be great to have those 3 major things: focus, vertical grip, and 2 card slots addressed with these cameras. And we're going to get other beneficial tweaks like increased battery life and in-camera charging whilst on, improved video spec, which is going to be warmly received by all of us who are interested in video. I really think that if what we're seeing here, rumoured on paper, all comes true, Nikon are going to basically be in the pack, and anybody who's interested in either buying into the Z system who is not a Nikon user or F-mount users, there really won't be very much to worry about, and you can think about really what is more important to you, because those specs of vertical grip, dual card slot, focus will all be roughly on par. And then you can think about, are you interested in the Z mount, what they're doing with their lenses, their color science, their weather sealing, their ergonomics, and all that sort of stuff. That'll be all that you have to think about now. So I think it's a super exciting time for Nikon. I really think this will bring an end to nitpicking about specs, and you can just basically get into the system that feels right for you, your workflow, your legacy, the size of your hand, whether you're a left-eye shooter, all that sort of stuff, whether you shoot in the jungle or not. All right, everybody, well, as usual, it is so good to see you, and if this is your first time here, it is so nice to meet you. Please subscribe so I can see you again. Please share, makes us all smarter. Please like, and just down there, there's over 200 episodes you can watch right now. All right, be well, stay safe, happy shooting, click, click, bye.